is in London the first day that I arrived. It's taken from the 25th story of the Shell building, looking across the Thames River toward Big Ben. The smog and all the dust really discouraged the missionaries that arrived with me. We weren't too happy after seeing London, but things got better. And the next slide, when we saw Cotswold, which is the mission home. Notice it was a very, very sunny day, which was unusual, even for that time of year in June. By the time I got out to my new area, it was raining. In fact, it rained on me the first 11 days I was there. The third slide is my traveling companions coming across. From left to right is Elder Stewart, Elder Zobel, Elder Duckworth, Elder Kowalski, Elder Marriott, Elder Taylor, and Elder Adams. Elder Kowalski and Elder Duckworth and Elder Marriott were in my rooms, and of course Elder Marriott was my companion in the mission home. The next slide is of the missionaires. This is a slide that was taken when we had a pizza party with the district, and they sang for us that night. This is the first time I realized I wanted to be in the missionaires, and the first time I realized that my flash on my camera didn't work either. Not too long after that, the district took a trip down to Stratford-upon-Avon. We stopped a number of times on the way. First of all, this next slide is of Kenilworth Castle. Kenilworth Castle was completely destroyed by a guy by the name of Oliver Cromwell. He used to run around here in the Dark Ages sometime. The next slide is of Kenilworth also, looking from the inside out. After Kenilworth, we went down to Warwick Castle, which happened to be Oliver Cromwell's headquarters. This is a picture of the peacocks that were running around the lawns there. And the next slide is a picture of Warwick Castle itself. At the present time, Warwick Castle is a very big art museum, and this next picture was taken on the inside by Elder Marsh with his expensive camera. I don't know whose picture it is, but perhaps if I get there again, I'll look for it and try to remember it. Looking out the window of Warwick Castle, you can see the Avon River. This is the same river that runs past Stratford-upon-Avon, which we visited next. When we got down to Stratford, it was a very cloudy day, and it wasn't conducive for taking pictures with my little Instamatic, but I did have to take this next one, which showed the flood in Shakespeare Park in Stratford. This is one picture you won't get every time you go there, because the entire Midlands was flooded at this time, and the picture looking at that water should be a park there, but it's really a big lake now. This next set of slides shows Dudley, my first area, which is in Worcester. This is in the Russell's Hall estate, which we tracted shortly before being transferred from Dudley. The Jehovah's Witnesses tracked this every 2 weeks, and so reception was, needless to say, about zero. In fact, they were quite antagonistic. This lawn here is a Russell's Hall Youth Club, where we used to sleep and eat our lunch. That's old Elder Marsh, my companion. Along with our bikes, we're all ready to hoover our dinner. This next picture is of Topchurch, the Church of England, on High Street, Dudley. Now, it was such a big church, I couldn't get it all in the picture. This is what the graveyard, the cemetery next to the church, and the big part of the church looks like. And the next picture after that is still on High Street, looking back up at the spire of the church, and you can see it is quite a large church at the very top of the hill. Now, if you turn around, the next slide would show you Bottom Church and the rest of High Street in Dudley. And if you can look up there on top of the hill, you might be able to see Dudley Castle, which was the first castle I saw when I came to England. It really isn't much of a castle anymore. Cromwell also destroyed it. And now there's a zoo in it, and they actually have some animals and most of the aquarium inside the castle itself. And I have later a picture from the castle. Down at the very bottom of High Street is a statue of Lord Dudley, and you see one of these famous English roundabouts, which are give most of the new missionaries fits because they always look the wrong way, thinking they're in America, and the car's coming around the other way and about hit them. It doesn't take too long to get used to it. Lord Dudley is, of course, the one who founded the town. This is a picture of a stained glass window in Bottom Church on High Street, Dudley. Elder Marsh took this one with his super-duper camera. The next one is another picture of Bottom Church and Dudley Castle. I believe this is one that was taken by Elder Icemon and I when we went back from Sedgley one day, and he went right up into a insurance agency office and asked the manager if he could stick his head out the window and take this picture. It really disrupted the whole place, but everybody thought it was quite clever about the American coming in and taking a picture of the castle. One Monday, as a district outing, we went to Dudley Zoo, and just after coming out, this is a picture of Elder Marsh, Elder Jones, and Elder Matthews, and some girl from Elder Jones and Elder Matthews' ward, or branch, in Walsall, which is east of Dudley and Sedgley. Elder Jones is a little bit chunky. He only had about a week and a half to go. And just before I snapped the picture, he put his arm on this little girl's shoulder. I guess he was getting practice or something. And here's a close-up picture from the zoo of Dudley Castle. The zoo winds its way around the hill up into the castle. And this is a picture taken from the castle overlooking Dudley. You can see Bottom Church down on the left and Top Church up on the right. Dudley was actually a fairly clean city for being in the Midlands of England. Most of them are quite dirty due to all the smog and all the factories around about it. If you turn around, you can see this next picture is taken towards Birmingham. You can see a good picture of the Midlands from here. This is looking mostly east and a little bit south. And somewhere down there is our next picture, the Martin's Digs. This is where we lived, Mr. and Mrs. Martin. We had to pay £6 a week for 2 meals, which was pretty steep for around here. This is on St. James's Road. Now, if you walk down St. James's Road, across the street from our digs, there was this secondary school. I took this to show this is one of the more modern schools anyway. And also this monument, this granite spire you can see, is a memorial to the children who grew up and then went to war and died. And just about every school has a memorial to their students, former students who passed away in the war. And up the other end of St. James's Street is St. James's Church, where the mean old vicar used to live. This is the guy that barged in us in the meeting. We haven't seen him since. We don't really care to. I don't think he cares to see us either. Elder Marsh and I like to go up to the market in the town center and buy ourselves a big sack of fruit and then stop along the way and eat our lunch while we were going to the tracting area. This is on Alma's Place. This is the road right behind Elder Marsh in an old parking lot. This is the best place we could find that day to sit down and eat our fruit. This next picture is of Woodsetton Chapel. And if you can see close enough, that's Margret Davis, the first girl I baptized over here, and Maureen Cross, and Sister Drew on the right side. Margaret's in the middle, and Maureen's in the left. Sister Drew is Peter Drew's mother. Woodsetton Chapel is about 3 miles north of Dudley, between Sedgley and Tipton, in what's called Woodsetton. It's a very pretty area. It's called Woodsetton because this next picture is of the backyard at Woodsetton Chapel. Actually, this is very common for Sedgley and all of Staffordshire, especially North Staffordshire. Up by Stoke is like this. Very pretty rolling hills with green on them. These next 3 sides you could probably term the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's a title of a famous movie over here anyway. Well, this first picture is of Brother Wilkinson's Bentley. A Bentley is a very posh car. It's made by Rolls-Royce, and it's exactly the same as a Rolls-Royce except for the radiator. And Brother and Sister Craven are standing there getting into it like they're posh people. But the next picture is Brother Craven's bomb. Actually, he's sold this now, and he's got himself another van. But this was really quite a conversation piece before he sold it. And the next picture is Brother Sherriott, who is the first counselor in the ward,
This is what he drives around. I haven't got a picture of it, but the bishop drives a cycle also. This is a picture in front of the chapel with Elder Marsh, and that's Peter Drew, the younger one, and Brother Priest. He's the man who was actually branch president when they built the chapel, and it was built by the members completely. And Brother Priest is now the custodian of the chapel. Peter Drew is a district missionary here that works with us very often, and he's trying to go on a mission himself, a full-time mission. He's anticipating his call rather soon. We hope he gets it because we're all pulling for him in the missionaries. When we were in Dudley, Peter came to work with us one day, and we were riding down Himley Road, which is a very, very large hill. We got going about as fast as one can go on a bike, and Peter was right behind me. I got to the bottom of the hill, and a Book of Mormon fell out of my pocket onto the ground, and I stopped, and Peter wasn't behind me, and I didn't know where he was. A lady pulled up in an English car and mentioned there was a man laying on the ground back there. Looked like he'd been hit. Well, I zipped up as fast as I could go, and there was Peter lying on the grass alongside the road, and he was quite messed up. And somebody had called an ambulance, and so I rode with him to the hospital, and Elder Marsh came later, and we administered to him, but he really wasn't hurt as bad as it looked, which made us feel good. But this is the picture of his bike about 2 weeks later. You can see that he's in pretty good shape now. This next set of pictures is of Harborne. This first one is of the golf course in our attracting area near California. Good thing about Harborne, they had 3 golf courses nearby, but I didn't have an opportunity to play it because every Monday was to play them, because every Monday was taken up with one thing or another. I was looking forward to playing one of the golf courses soon, but I didn't have the opportunity because I got transferred not too long after coming to Harborne. This next picture is a roundabout in California, our attracting area. And if you can see across the road, there's an old wagon with an old man drawn by a horse. Well, these are rag-bone men. These old men run around all day and yell rag-bone and various other salutations to the people, and the people come out and give him their old rags and all the iron and stuff they have laying around, old bicycles, and he takes them in and sells them as junk. And it's surprising to note that these men, even though they look kind of scruffy and don't have a very good job, they're really one of the most posh people around. Some of their houses are really expensive compared to most other houses. Not too long after coming to Harborne, Elder Marsh was released to go home, and this is a picture of the Summerfield Digs where we stayed, 47 the Lindens. This time we paid only £5 for 2 meals. They were very nice people there. The digs weren't much to speak of in our room. There wasn't any furniture besides 2 beds and a closet. We put everything we had on the floor. Only had one small table in there we kept our books on. Well, this is a typical house in a posh area. A large number of homes in the area, in all of the Midlands, are designed just like this. They're semi-detached, or a duplex is what we'd call them at home. The same day Elder Marsh went home, our district was called into the mission home to work, to clean up and garden. It reminded me a lot of Saturday mornings around our place. And that's Elder Pratt, the district leader, and Elder Gardner, who is now a district leader of another district, in the wheelbarrow. My new companion was Elder White. This is one of the few pictures I have of him. We were only together for 2 weeks before I was transferred. But we were tracking one day and came across these little villas, and this one was, as you can see, above his head, called Alberta's Villa, so I took a picture of it with him there. And the next picture is of Elder White again in another tracting area, which we changed to shortly after he came. You can see in the background the large flats. This is what England is trying to do, is build up instead of out. They look pretty fancy from there, but when you get to them, they're not too posh. This next picture is of another ragbone man in our new tracting area around there. You can see the houses behind him are all exactly alike. The reason for this is because they're owned by the state. They're called council houses. They're owned by each community. They have a set council which governs and owns all of these homes. They're all identical alike. The only difference is they have different colored doors. they're really a bore to tract, and usually the people in them are quite destitute, and they're not the people who are prepared to hear the gospel anyway, and it's really kind of boring sometimes when you have to track all these council houses. Although these are one of the better looking council houses I've seen on my mission. Some of the other ones, like there were in Dudley, were really hideous. They were really torn down. The council in Dudley didn't keep them up. A person has to pay about £4 a week to live in it with his family. That's about $10, and most of their utilities and stuff are paid for by the council. One day, Elder White and I went into Birmingham in the town center, which is about 3 million people, and this is in Birmingham Cathedral, Church of England, which was bombed out during the war, and this is Elder White feeding the pigeons. From cycling from our digs in Harbour out to our new tracting area, we used to pass this Catholic church you can see now, with this big white cross, and there's quite a story about this church and the cross. During the Second World War, the Germans used to fly across the English Channel and fly across Birmingham and drop their bombs on Birmingham. And then, of course, all the lights were turned out at night. And the only way that the Germans knew how to turn around and go back across to drop their second load of bombs was they saw this big white cross in the air. And so they would see that and turn around and fly across the other way and bomb Birmingham again. Well, the English people got onto this, and so they asked the priest there to put black on his cross for the duration of the war. But he decided he didn't want to do that, and so he didn't. He kept it white, and the Nazi planes came across, and they kept seeing it, and they kept bombing Birmingham, and that's that. This next picture was taken at Gwneda Hughes' baptism. Elder Marsh baptized Gwneda on Thursday and flew off for Salt Lake on Friday morning. You can see here, I think from left to right, Peter Drew, Gwneda, Margret, who I baptized earlier, is Gwenda's friend who got her interested in the church, and Marilol Eastwood, one of the girls in the ward who gave a talk, and Elder Frank, myself, Elder Marsh, and Elder Leeper, who was my district leader.
Paying the balance on January the 3rd, which gives exactly 4 weeks to get the balance of the money. And I've got to give him what I said, a promissory note, signed by me and the wife. He went to his bank today and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. This is how they want it. But there is some money owing on it, as I told you, HP. He's going to give us an undertaking that on the clearance of my cheque he'll discharge this liability.
What does that mean?
Well, that he'll pay it off as soon as my cheque's been cashed, you
so
say.
you don't have to worry about it.
No, but he's still got to get it in writing. He said because you'll need this for the port authorities.
If they can find out and put it in the left the elements of fetching at the same time, I'll put an advert in what I think this should fetch.
If you were to put an ad in, he'd want to put it in that paper.
That's what I
Salt
want.
Lake paper won't get any results. But
That's what I want him to put in this paper. So if we can give him that at the same time as we're talking to him, we'll work it out in dollars.
You're making money, huh?
I reckon about $2,000. That's what I reckon.
I should think that sounds pretty reasonable.
Because I've been talking to one or two people, and I think it would fetch $2,000. That's about what, £780.
80 pounds?
780.
Oh.
780.
Okay. Sounds right. I don't know.
Something, I reckon $2,000. I mean,
Yeah, that's about right.
or $19.99. You know.
About 82 pounds.
Huh? $19.99. That's it. It's a 6-yard 8 scale 500, and I think we shall sell it.
Come on then.
In case you're wondering what all that is, Brother Wilkinson just walked into our flat, and he's helping Elder Darger buy his Cobra, and he's in the used car business.
Minutes of the
And owns
23rd
a garage,
ward.
which is a garage.
Minutes.
Before the tape ran out, like I was saying, Brother Wilkinson is helping Elder Darger buy his Cobra, and they just stepped out for a second to call Salt Lake City, talk to his dad, and make the final arrangements. This next picture is taken of Leicester Steakhouse in Leicester. It was just over
State Conference had just gotten over, and Apostle Kimball, Spencer W. Kimball, had spoken. He was very good. And this was the day before I was transferred to Sedgley in the Missionaries. This next picture is rather dark. This was taken with my Instamatic, and this is what you get, I guess, when you're too far away. But this is the first time I played with the Missionaries. It was in the South Birmingham Ward, which they meet in a large school, and we played for a pioneer party they had. It's funny to see the English people mimicking pioneers. You imagine us at home doing it in the church. We don't think they do it over here, but they do, and it's really great. And we just got dressed up as much as possible with what we had to wear so we could look like pioneers and sang. This is the first time I sang with them. That's Elder Icemon playing the guitar, if you can see that. He's my companion. The first trip that I took with the Missionaries was up to Newcastle. That's Newcastle under Lyme, not on Tyne. Newcastle on Tyne is way out of the mission, and it's a very large city, and Newcastle is a very small city. Newcastle under Lyme, that is, and it's near Stoke-on-Trent. This was their member missionary week, and we sang on the 28th of September in the chapel. And this is a picture of Newcastle Chapel. The next picture is the missionaries themselves. Elder Icemon took the picture, so he isn't in it. From left to right are elders Sigmiller, Eves, Darger, Moffett, Graff, Nichols, and myself. We're all getting ready to eat, as you can see. Elder Eves and Elder Graff are from Arizona. Elder Eves is from Mason. Elder Graff is from Tempe. Elder Graff is our district leader now, and Elder Darger is my companion now. Not to leave Elder Icemon out, the next picture is of Elder Icemon. He was known to be the clown of the group, obviously. And if you remember when I played in that play at church, I had to wear that mustache at the very end. Well, I had it in my wallet, and I gave it to him, and he had bought a English bowler not too long ago, and he put that on, and some of his wire glasses, and his bow tie, and his brolly, his umbrella, which we call brolly, and walked out into the backyard. And Mr. Barnett, who's about 85, was out there working, and Elder Icemon could put on a very good posh English accent, and he said, "Well, I say, do you know who I am?" And Mr. Barnett didn't know what was going on. He was all flustered, and finally Elder Icemon took off the hat and the mustache, and Mr. Barnett just about died laughing. He was really tickled. And this is what Elder Icemon looks like in real life. It was taken in Wolverhampton, this picture. And we saw this car, which we call a Darger machine, in the Missionaries. And Elder Icemon wanted to get his picture taken by it, so I took it. We call these things Darger machines because Elder Darger, as you may have gathered, my companion, is crazy about cars. He's buying a Cobra this week. And so anytime we see a strange-looking car, it's called a Darger machine by the group. Now, in Sedgley, we live in a flat. And as you may have gathered, Mr. and Mrs. Barnett own it. They're our landlord and landlady. The flat is of a Tudor style. This is the best picture I could get of it with my little Instamatic, because it's usually quite cloudy or foggy, and you can't get much better picture than this. And the sun never shines on the front of it, so this is all I could take. This Tudor house is supposed to be about 200 years old. It doesn't have any central heating, but it's really posh on the inside. It's supposed to be about one of the top 2 or 3 flats in the mission. So I'm really lucky to be in it. This next picture is looking out my bedroom window, looking south. This is what the countryside looks like in Staffordshire. It's very beautiful. You can't see very many homes there. The track, they're all behind you. But the next picture after this is looking west out the window. You can see a few homes there, and you can see all the way out to Wales. Wales is out there someplace, and pretty soon I hope I'll be going there over to Rhyl, because the Missionaries will be singing in Rhyl, Wales next month for Christmas. This next picture is taken out of my mate's bedroom window, looking across Catholic Lane, and you can see some of the black and white design homes. They like to put the boards on the outside of the house, the boards that support the house, and then they paint them black with a white background. They're called black and whites. They're very prevalent down in Stratford-upon-Avon. I'm planning to get more pictures of them the next time I go down there. They're very pretty. If you walk up Catholic Lane, up top, you get to why the reason that the lane is called Catholic Lane is the very big Catholic church. And this is a good picture of the cemetery within the churchyard. Just about every church in England has a cemetery like this, and they're very, very poorly kept. In fact, this one was cleaned up, believe it or not, about 2 weeks earlier than I took this picture. And they're very interesting gravestones and a lot of history within the churches, as you'll see in a minute anyway. Now, the Catholic Church is on the main road, the corner with Catholic Lane. If you walk up the main road, you come to the bull ring of Sedgley. This is the town center. You can see the spire of Sedgley Parish Church, which is the Church of England, which is a very, very pretty church and one of the best kept up churches that I've seen. The bull ring is so named because a long time ago they used to bring the bulls in there, and it used to be a sport to have the dogs kill the bulls, believe it or not. Instead of, you've heard of bullfights in Mexico. Well, in England they used to have bullfights with English bulldogs. They used to put about 5 or 6 bulldogs in a ring with the bull, and they would run around and bite it, and pretty soon the bull would die, and then they'd butcher it and have a big feast. It was quite a sport, something like cockfighting, which it's all illegal now. But Sedgley had a bull ring, and Birmingham has a very large bull ring, and the town centers are named after the bullfights there. And now if you walk up the path in the middle of this last picture, you come to the church, and this is All Saints Church in Sedgley, the parish church. Like I said, it's very, very well kept up, and this has a lot of history about it. About 1660, I should say, a man by the name of the Reverend Joseph Eccles Hall was the vicar of All Saints Church in Sedgley. And the Church of England changed one of its doctrines, and so many of the vicars rebuked the hierarchy of the Church of England and quit. Well, this Reverend Joseph Eccles Hall was stoned out of Sedgley, down the hill which goes right past the Woodsetton Chapel into Cosley, which is about 3 miles away. And there he started a church. And it's called the Unitarian Church today. So this is the cradle of the beginning of the Unitarian Church. And in Cosley, old Reverend Eccles Hall is buried in one of the churches there, the big Unitarian Church. And there's a number of Unitarians in that area where Elder Darger used to work before he came to Sedgley. You can see Elder Darger there sitting down, and also one of the old blokes walking down the street. There's only about 70 trillion of these old guys walking around with handicap hats on and canes and rosy red cheeks and bushy eyebrows. They're really great. They're just all over the place. And this is England's answer to the Baltimore Colts. This is football. And this is taken at the park right south of the All Saints Church, where the last picture was taken. And this is halfway between the church and our flat on Catholic Lane. You can see out there the large mountain in the background, I believe, is called the Recon Mountain, which is in Wellington, England. And right over that is Wales. Now this next set of pictures is a day trip that Elder Icemon and I took on a D-Day. This is Tong Church, which is about 10 miles northwest of Wolverhampton. Elder Icemon and I went up there one day and wanted to get these brass rubbings that I've been telling you about. Tong is a very, very old church. It's full of history. And all over. The next 5 pictures, I don't know which order they're in, so I'll just tell you about 3 of them, and the other 2 are just general pictures of the graves inside the church. One of these pictures shows the heads of statuettes above these graves, which have been shot off. The bodies are there and the heads are missing. Well, what happened is Oliver Cromwell, after putting a gigantic cannonball through the top of the church, it's right through the clock, where the clock is now anyway, he came in, storming in, and with his men, something like Pancho Villa used to do in Mexico, I guess. He ran in the church and cleared everybody out and set up a table and had a big feast. This is his way of desecrating the Church of England. And so he apparently got kind of boozed up and started shooting off his gun, and he picked off with his gun every head of these little statuettes above this door here. Now, another picture is taken in a little room off to the side, which you can see from one picture. You can see on the side of this gravestone, the heads of the little statuettes there are also knocked off, and he shot these off also. And you can see this rug, which is in the corner of the picture. Well, I was walking through here, and the vicar was gone, and we couldn't find him to find the brass rubbings, and I came across this rug, and I lifted it up, and there was a brass rubbing of one of the children of these guys that are buried in this Tong church. And so we rubbed it, and this is before we put the rug back onto the brass rubbing. You can see how beautifully ornamented the rug is, I hope. It's a very small picture of it, I know. And another picture is of the bullet holes, which are in sort of a mantelpiece tablet, which is on the wall of Tong Church, and these bullets were made by Cromwell also. Now, these last three pictures sort of show England of the present. It shows their attitude, how they're different towards that. I mean, different than the Americans. Since devaluation, the spirit of Britain has been changed quite a bit, apparently, and these signs began springing up. A lot of them were very humorous and very cutting on the British economy, yet they were still put up by British people, and it seems sort of contradictory to try and gain spirit in the country by cutting themselves down. But this is their method of doing it. The first one, as you can see, is quite humorous. I guess you can see them as well as I could, and so you can look at these three. And of course, the last one is the end, and that's the end of the slides and the end of this narration. After listening to what I've just recorded, I don't know how in the world you're going to know when to change slides, and I hope you have one of these speedy press the button type slide projectors. You'll never have time to do it. But this is about the best I could do under the circumstances. And I haven't been able to describe everything like I wanted to, for reasons of time and money on the tape. So I hope you enjoy it. Ta-ta for now.